The beast can't do anything without our permission. It doesn't take violence, vitriol, or venom. All it takes is your will, your compassion, and your faith. What's up, my EFF? Let me tell you how it is. You're listening to Jots, a podcast that explores the nature of love, compassion, joy, and the real-life connection between human beings. I'm Ender Bowen, Nashville, Tennessee rock pop artist, author, husband, father, complete dork, and aspiring compassionist. Sit back, relax, and be prepared to laugh, cry, maybe even shake your fist at the moon for some reason. My son just started kindergarten this past fall, and I have to say, here comes the ubiquitous daddy being proud of his boy moment. For a kid that has always had problems with huge changes, transitions, and pivots, the move from daycare to public education has gone remarkably well. In fact, there have been no behavioral issues, no fights, no screaming matches with teachers. It's as if the lid has been pulled off, and he finally has the ability to truly come into his own. That's saying a lot because daycare was, well, a struggle. And that's nothing against the facility itself. The staff there was always amazing. But my son, well, that's one stubborn cookie. As a result, he's always struggled with the process of learning how to read. If you think about it, it makes sense. Why put the energy into learning to read when, traditionally, mommy and daddy have done all of that for him? This despite the fact that his older sister loves to read and goes ridiculously out of her way to show us how thick her books are. It's a wonder he doesn't catch on. But while reading has been a difficult thing for him to grasp, he's had absolutely no problem at all with numbers. In fact, he loves numbers. From counting to math equations, he can't get enough of them. He even likes to show off his multiplication skills. It's gotten to the point where he has actually declared, on more than one occasion, that he is the smartest member of the family because he knows 32 plus 32 equals 64. I mean, how do you argue with something like that? You'd think I'd be super excited about this whole love by numbers thing. Don't get me wrong, I am excited. But for some reason, I can't shake this sort of unease that I have with it. The unease is kind of a hard thing to explain. On the one hand, it's great that my son has responded so well to this. He can count super high, he can do math, and multiple digit numbers just don't intimidate him in the slightest. He's got a comfort level with the subject at such a young age that I dare say I may never have ever really had myself. That's going to do wonders for him as he gets into more complex arithmetic down the road. Calculus may well be a breeze. Okay, that's a bit of a reach. On the other hand, kids have a tendency to get obsessive about some things. All right, to be fair, adults definitely do too. I'm certainly guilty of that. And my son is no different. It's to the point now where I'm concerned that my son might be getting a little obsessed with numbers. And when human beings get obsessed, that's when they start to lose control. Not just lose control, that's when they begin transitioning to a place where the thing they've mastered up to this point starts to control them. Over time, this whole obsession thing turns into a monster. But this is a special kind of monster. I like to refer to it as a beast. Like most monsters, the beast isn't a real, tangible thing, yet at the same time, it does exist. It does have unspeakable power, and with that power, it can do unfathomable damage. How much power? How much damage? In the end, that's up to you. As nearly every human being alive knows, the Bible mentions a couple of pretty terrifying beasts in Revelation chapter 13. This is an excerpt from Revelation chapter 13, verses 16 through 18. Also it causes all, both small and great, both rich and poor, both free and slave, to be marked on the right hand or the forehead, so that no one can buy or sell who does not have the mark, that is, the name of the beast or the number of its name. This calls for wisdom. Let anyone with understanding calculate the number of the beast, for it is the number of a person. Its number is 666. Here we are coming back around to numbers again. Depending on who you ask, theories to who or what this beast could be range from a resurrected Nero to the Antichrist, though typically that's a reference to the first beast from earlier in this chapter, to Satan himself. As to the number that gets marked, some have suggested this could refer to your social security number, credit cards, or any other number of things that are used to identify you or otherwise grant you access to something. Personally, I don't think it's any of those things. Earlier, I said that the amount of power that the beast has and the amount of damage that it can create is all up to you. That's because this beast can't do anything without your permission. That permission is how the beast marks you. You carry that mark with you wherever you go because you let yourself be marked. The beast knows where you are, what you're doing, and how to get to you. As a result, the beast can manifest in many different ways. Obsession is certainly one of those ways, and one of the most common. Another common one is fear. It's something we all deal with at one time or another and in varying ways. For instance, though I've been recording and releasing music now for over 20 years, I only just recently performed my first ever live Ender Bowen show. On the surface, it's easy to say that this is because of time, money, logistics, family, mortgage, and other adult responsibilities. Those are all true and reasonable explanations, but they're also all things that can be overcome with passion, patience, persistence, and a good bit of tactical strategery. So, why did it take so long to overcome them? Why didn't I even really try? Fear. Something I learned in therapy last year is that I apparently filter everything through a core belief that I'm not good enough. This has had an effect on nearly every aspect of my life, not least of which causing me to be terrified of getting up on stage and doing the thing that I know I was born to do. As a result, I gave fear permission to turn my reasonable explanations into excuses. Once I rescinded that permission, everything changed. Have you ever thought about why protesters or people on social media, on either side of the political divide, are so eager to shout down, silence, and cancel their perceived enemies, even when those enemies offer an olive branch of genuine dialogue? Have you ever thought about why they're more than happy to say awful, terrible things about and to their enemies, even when given the opportunity to have an honest discussion? You'd be right if you said that was fear, but it's not fear of their enemies, it's fear of each other. It's the fear of being torn down, canceled, and ostracized by the people they consider their contemporaries, or even friends, that keeps them from being willing to step forward and have an honest, good faith discussion. After all, you can't be seen to be giving your enemies any opportunity. You can't appear to be willing to hear them out. That's the worst thing you could do. They don't listen. They don't discuss. They just shout. This is what happens when you give the beast control. Make no mistake, this is how people in power control us. This is how they keep us from having good faith conversations with each other. This is how they convince us they have our back, when in reality, they're just tricking us into giving up more and more of our power. If you look at the beast in Revelation this way, it makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? Maybe this is how we're being marked. Maybe we've always been marked in one way or another. And if the whole world is marked like this, it's easy to see how that simple inability to talk to each other can exacerbate fears and lead to the kind of hate and violence that consumes all of humanity. Sounds a lot like a kind of Armageddon to me. The good news is that this beast is easy to defeat. All we have to do is remember the power that we have. Remember that the beast can't do anything without our permission. It doesn't take violence, vitriol, or venom. All it takes is your will, your compassion, and your faith. One last thing. I see the dragon and the two beasts in Revelation chapters 12 and 13 to be sort of an anti-trinity to God's Father, Son, Holy Spirit. I've talked before about how I see the Holy Trinity as representing love, compassion, and joy. If we agree to that notion, then the dragon must be hate, the first beast is animosity, maybe even indifference, and the third beast is misery or despair. If the Holy Trinity's purpose is to connect human beings together with strong bonds of love and knowledge of each other, thus further connecting us all to the Lord, then this unholy Trinity must seek to divide, conquer, isolate, and ultimately destroy us. But again, it can't do that unless you let it. And that has always been the case. All right, now it's your turn. What do you think about this take on the beast, or the number of the beast? Can you see where this idea of giving these things permission can have a negative effect on not just your own life, but on all of humanity? Where do you see the beast having control over your life right now? And how do you think you might take that control back? How might you help others do the same? I invite you to share your thoughts with me via email, ender@enderbowen.com, or you can go to enderbowen.com/Discord to learn how you can share your thoughts with the growing Ender Bowen community. I would love for you to share your thoughts about this episode with my growing community of aspiring compassionists. Find out how to join us on Discord by going to enderbowen.com/Discord. Look how easy I made that. If you like this episode, please subscribe to the God Jots podcast on your favorite podcast streaming service. You can also check out more God Jots, as well as subscribe to the mail list for ebooks, updates, and exclusive content at godjots.com. Until next time, be honest with yourself, be truthful with others, give people the opportunity to surprise you, and remember that it's impossible to have absolutely nothing in common with another human being. Be a little light in the world. I'm sure I'll see you soon.